Matt Smith is about ready to unload some serious knowledge on you. Now, he made me wear this shirt. He said if I was going to intro him, I had to wear the 10K or die shirt. And I was like, you know what? It's funny because we've had so many people, like we launched a company 5 years ago. And I can remember some people would say to me, can I ask you something? I said, yeah. Do you really think that every single person that sells life insurance, that works with Family First Life, can sell 10 grand a week? And I said, yes. That was this day one. Now I always thought that because we always, like a lot of the guys and girls that we knew, like we always knew we could do it and had always done it. So it was kind of like, yeah, it's actually just requires 40 hours of work a week. It doesn't even require anything extra special. You don't have to be very crazy good at it. We're all very different, but we're all finding a way to do it. If you run enough appointments, have the right attitude, the right activity, you're presumptive enough, you care about the clients, you're open with them about what they can and can't have, you're direct but respectful, yeah, everybody can write 10 grand. So Matt, to tribute to what you're gonna lay out today, which Matt is guaranteed, I don't know what this means, Mike, but he's guaranteed everybody that watches this will write 10 grand next week. So I don't know what that means, I don't know where his guarantee is, but that's Matt Smith. He said if they watch, well, he actually said if they watch it and do the things we talk about today, everybody can go write 10 grand next week. So he can't guarantee that everybody goes to work. But I think that I really ask, and I'm going to tee it up to Matt. He'll take the entire thing home. If you've not heard him train or you have, either way, you're in for a treat. We love having him on because, yes, he is very good at what he does, but he's also very good at communicating it. He's helped empower a lot of people. When you hear him talk, Matt's also somebody, if you know him, who doesn't wake up in the morning and go, I love to confront clients. I think what Matt fell in love with was how powerful the life insurance vehicle is for the clients. I think he fell in love with how amazing these benefits are. And then I think he fell in love with the feeling of helping out folks that haven't figured out how to help themselves out in this aspect, right? So falls in love with the product and then falls in love with the process, and thus his numbers. I mean, I don't even know what he's issued over his 5 years, Sizer, but it's millions and millions. He's the #1 all-time Family First Life issue paid producer. So I guess say no more, right? But I mean, the number's inordinate. But I ask you, to make sure that whatever you're doing, because as we get towards, getting into May and get about half a year in here, 2019, we're clear. This Hall of Fame deal, the 400 grand that you paid a year, and that's awesome. Number one, that's great. Averaging that 30,000 plus month, which is writing 10K a week. I think we have. I don't think we have dozens of people that can do it. We have quite a few that are in already, but I think we have thousands. I think that we've changed the way people look at this business. I think that that's because of how hard you all work. Now, 40 hours a week. I'm just saying. I think we've gotten independent contractors to understand that they can go ahead and work 40 hours a week, a year, 2, 3, 5, 7, and set themselves up for a phenomenal financial present and future. So I really challenge you to kind of, anything you have been thinking or aren't thinking or anything you're looking to change, kind of put that aside and just listen, because the presumptiveness with which Matt talks makes sense because of our client relationship. I think Matt also really early on understood these are leads and they've asked me for help. I don't need to be confused. These are leads and they've asked me for help. And because they're leads and they've asked me for help, they expect me to tell them what we need to do. I'm respectful, I'm professional, but I'm also the one in charge, and here's how I make sure they know that. And I think Matt's really, when you look and write lead allocation, what we're doing for leads now, internet, Facebook, direct mail, mortgage, final expense, referrals, Reliance Shield, prescription drug card. There's so many things that we're doing on every side to help create even more leads, more referrals, more networking for people. So I really, for the next 55 minutes, give or take a few seconds here, Matt's going to educate and empower you. And what I'm hoping, let's see how many people go out next week, and we'll list them, Mike. Maybe people have never done 10K, or I'll put everybody on. Let's just kind of look and see how many people we got that submit $10,000 next week. Because if you put the 40 hours in and you have the right attitude, I think you'll be shocked. You can get one of Matt's shirts. That's what we should do. We should take people, I don't know how many we get a lot of them though. We should do something with the shirts. Maybe we'll do something like if they do, how about everybody does 10K in the next 2 weeks? Then we can just send them a shirt. We'll make Matt do it, 10K or die. So I promise you it's going to be great. My buddy, my peer. I'm excited to listen to what he has to say, as I so affectionately like to call him MJ, Matthew John Smith. It's all yours, buddy.
Thanks, Shawn, Meaike, for having me on today's Next Level Call. I'm always excited to be able to host these calls. I hope you can take a few things and implement this into your business. We're going to talk about how Family First Life overall is going to be issuing $8 million of life insurance per month. We're going to talk about you as an individual producer, how you can hit that $10,000 issue paid mark per week to help propel your business, help you get more profitable. And I've broken this call into 3 different segments. So I'm going to be covering 18 reasons why you might be failing in this business. I'm going to talk to you about ReliaShield and how to implement that into your business. And in the end, I'll give you more of the how we can create that $10,000 worth of issue paid business, going over some certain lead strategies and actually closing techniques in the house that can help you gain more business. So the first thing is there's 18 different reasons why you might be failing in business, probably more than that, right? But it all starts with the first thing, which is being a self-defeatist. So telling yourself why it won't happen versus why it will can really hurt you in business. The biggest thing I can tell you about is the less that you take the pressure off of you, thinking about you and your bills, your results, your scenario, and you start to think about your client, the easier it is to get your mind off of why this won't work and why things aren't going to work out. So be self-aware in regards to being a self-defeatist. Can really stunt your growth and really hurt you off the bat from becoming a really great producer here at Family First Life. The next thing is your lack of belief. So belief really is one thing, and you hear it all the time, but that word persuasion. So I've talked about it previously on some other calls. We've got training videos on as well, but there's 5 things that you need in every single sale. And it really comes down to making sure that the client believes in you, your product, and your solution, okay? So if you're not talking to your clients with conviction in those areas, it's going to be very difficult to buy from you. The other scenario is just realize as great as companies that we represent, at the end of the day, the client is buying from you. And that's extremely important as well, which really comes into a limiting self-image. So this is a scenario I've seen hurt people all the time. You start to come into this business, maybe your personal finances aren't in line, and you sit down with clients and you start to talk to them about their financial position, and you have a really difficult time on being assumptive and basically telling people what to do. Because with this type of sale, you need to lead, guide, and direct your clients at all times. And without a healthy self-image, you'll really lose in this area. So be aware of whether you're leading, guiding, directing the house. Be aware of if you're someone that's lacking confidence. Confidence comes from one thing. It comes from trying new things. A lot of times with producers, we stay in this little box all the time and we're doing the same thing over and over and we're expecting different results. And that's not a good way to practice business. It's not a good way to become profitable, and it's a good way to go out of business. So make sure your self-image is in line with what you want to achieve here at Family First Life. The next one is laziness. I think a lot of times, especially for people that come from that W-2 arena and they come into a self-employed role, laziness is something that we don't talk about enough. And it's just more of, do you have a sense of urgency? Do you really want to become profitable? Are you someone that not only buys a lead purchase in 1 week, but do you buy multiple lead purchases in the same week to make money fast? Because this business, where you're getting confused, is this business is not about, what lead type, what scenario. It's more about how quick can I get issue paid business on the books so I can make money fast, so I can create a domino effect that keeps propelling you and getting you to the next level in business. So obviously that's huge. Failure to prepare. As my team, for example, we do a lot of Zoom dials, live dials, where we listen to other veteran agents as well as brand new agents make dials. The biggest area I can tell you where you really need to improve right now is your phone skills. I've talked about this in the past, but 80% of what we do is the phone, 15% is the in-home, and 5% is product knowledge. For a lot of you new people, you spend 80% of your time on the product knowledge and you get ready, you never get started, and that's a real problem because confidence is just one thing. It's literally just trying new things. It's trying and failing too. It's literally just trying and failing. The more that you try, fail, adjust, the quicker that you're going to become very profitable and very successful here at Family First Life. So make sure that your preparation is a huge scenario. So I've always said prior preparation prevents poor performance. Well, you need to make sure and get your phone script down. Understand how to overcome objections quickly. Understand how to control the phone call, because if you can't control the phone, you're going to have a really difficult scenario trying to control your in-home as well. The next thing is just making excuses rather than making sales. If you're someone that maybe buys one lead purchase, and you're going to have mixed results with all different type of lead types. The nice thing about the lead types that we recommend here at Family First Life is all of them work, and our issue paid numbers show those results. So because we know, EverQuote with internet works, because we know, our direct mail systems work through final expense and mortgage protection, because we know, with social media, SIL leads, Secure Mentor, etc., these leads work. Well, we know that all you have to do is learn the steps and process that scenario. So don't blame the leads. Don't blame anybody else. Take personal accountability for where you're at. The vast majority of people, in fact, when we're interviewing new agents in the field or whatever we might see, the vast majority of people seem to always take responsibility upon themselves in the wrong area. They need to take a look at that mirror, and I think you'll find a lot more success being accountable for your actions. So identifying where you need to stop making excuses is going to be huge for you as well. The next thing is just failure to do your homework. A lot of areas for me in this regards is for non-income producing hours, late at night, early in the morning, where you're not sitting with clients, where you're not on the phone talking to new agents, recruiting, hiring, etc. You are not learning how to, I'll use John Hancock as an example. You're not learning how to write a John Hancock product. Now, Americo is our platinum partner. We're going to place the vast majority of our business there. But for people that are under 60 years old that don't want return of premium, that could be a good alternative. The problem is you don't do enough homework to know that you could simply do the app on your phone. It's a short question. It's an easy issue scenario, very liberal underwriting, and that could help, for example. It could help your business. But because you don't do your homework, because you don't ask your manager questions, you start to fail. Or because your ability to pivot in the house is limited. And that's okay in the beginning. In the beginning with final expense, for example, real simple. You're just going to use Eagle Premier. You're going to have knockout questions and instant approvals in the house. It's a great business to do. As we start to get into internet, life insurance leads, mortgage protection, etc., that's where, if you may need to learn how to pivot more. That's where homework is going to become more important for you to become a student of the game. So procrastination. Are you someone that's getting on the phone, not at the specific dial time that we're dedicated to? Or are you one of those people that shuffles through the leads and needs to look at every lead before you dial? Are you somebody that doesn't prepare the night before and print out the leads and have all your paperwork and everything in order so you're not in a panic in the morning and you're already behind? Because these are the things that these slight tweaks that can change your mental state that will help you in the house. Because if you're frantic, it's just not a good way to start your day. It's not a good way to start your morning. It's certainly not a good way to help people obtain the requests that they're trying to receive from us for life insurance. Poor timing. Poor timing can come from different areas. So I can use poor timing as, hey, can you give me a call back when you're trying to set an appointment? You not knowing that poor timing, you still need to set that appointment, by the way. Here's a great phone tip for you when I'm thinking of poor timing. So you call a client, they say, hey Matt, can I call you back? Say, yes. What time do you and Mary get home on Tuesday? 6 o'clock. Now they think you're asking that because we're gonna call them back. Say, great, this is regard to the funeral and final expense coverage you requested on Facebook. I'm gonna be in your area between about 6:30 and 7 on Tuesday to get you that information. Does that sound fair? Yes. So you identify why you're calling really quick and you still try to set the appointment. A lot of you producers that are new, you'll say, hey, yeah, what time should I call you back? That's not how we get in front of more people. That's not how we create more business. These are the type of things that are important for you to execute in the field. So knowing how to quick set appointment versus a quality set is huge. That can have to do with timing. Timing could be a lot of things. Timing could be people fill out multiple forms and you're the first person in the house and you don't know how to approach the sale as being the first person in the house. Or you're the last person in the house and you don't know how to approach the sale as being the last person in the house. See, these are good questions for you to know. These are good things for you to think about. These are areas that you probably should talk to your manager about. Write these things down. This is a thinking person's game. It's not complicated though, but it's certainly a thinking person's game where you're going to evolve and help. Saying the wrong thing. Don't talk poorly about your competition. That's a bad look. I can very rarely think of scenarios where I've spoken about someone or some company because that's a great area where you're going to lose trust when you start to badmouth the competition. So just make sure you're saying the right things, not the wrong things in the house. The next thing is showing greed, right? Showing greed is an interesting scenario for a lot of people. A lot of times you've got commission breath and you're talking to your clients and they are aware of that. So are you listening? Number one, are you listening to what they're saying? Are you trying to help them or are you trying to help yourself? Because the better questions you ask, the more money that you'll make. But it's a listening person's game as well. So understand the greatest way to not show greed is to listen and help and understand their circumstances. Then we can deliver the solution for them. Last one on this slide is just insincerity. So a lot of times you're not showing empathy to your client, and that's this kind of, some of this stuff intertwines, right? Listening. So insincerity is more of just putting yourself in the client's shoes, understanding that once you understand your client's position, it's much easier to gain the sale. Next one is being trustworthy. So this is interesting. Think about what I'm about to say. Trustworthy is two things: being likable and being believable. Seems simple, like when you think of being trustworthy in the house, like, oh yeah, everybody knows that they need to buy from you, they need to trust you. But are you likable and are you believable? Certainty is how we become believable. So not wavering, not being lukewarm on your pitch. And then being likable, you know, those are different things on asking clients, getting them to open up. Are your clients opening up? Are inside the financial inventory, you're working with the clients in and out and asking a few personal questions along the way so it doesn't feel like a transaction, right? But you always got to be closing. So it's an identification of a little bit of both. So being trustworthy, likable, and believable. Think about that. Think about how you can help yourself in that area as well. Failure to have work ethic. This is huge, right? So this is what comes back down to sense of urgency. This is your habits. This is when I say everything matters. I'm not going to act like I am the standard for exercise, diet, and everything else, but I can assure you that I do exercise. I try to eat right, so I try to put myself in a state where I feel good. I try to put myself and like all this stuff matters for having work ethic. The more energy that you have, the more that you can work. Now, the greatest part about this business, we talk about it, Mark Meads talked about it, we've all talked about it, is This is one of the few businesses where you actually can outwork your problems. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. You can literally outwork your problems. Run 30 appointments a week and you won't have money problems. The biggest area that you're failing in is you'll set like 10 appointments in a week and you think that's good. You'll sit with 4, you close 1, and then you have no capital. So you need to, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you need to learn how to make that money quickly. You need to learn how to make that money fast. And this is an area where work ethic is huge and you can really reward yourself financially. Failure to have a proven plan. So success leaves tracks. The plan is in place here. And a lot of times these two things actually, to me, fall hand in hand. You start to try to do everything by yourself. So you might be an example, you might be an insurance producer that's writing fully underwritten products. And it's taking 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get a policy placed. And you're selling based off of price. You're not doing the clients any service because half the time the policy, they can't get the records or something at the hospital. There's something that comes back that they don't like because you put the power of the underwriting in the insurance company's hands. They lose interest because of time. And you're wondering why you're fully underwritten, your placement ratios are super low, well under 50%. So that's why you've got to understand people are asking for simplified issue products. People are asking to get an answer quickly. People want coverage, they want it to be affordable, and that's it. So don't overcomplicate this and try to do it your own way. The only time fully underwritten policy should be coming in place is really just overfunding an IUL, in my opinion. Now, maybe once in a while, you'll have like a $2-3 million term policy, but now we're starting to talk about 1% scenarios. So what are we really talking about at the end of the day? Yes, you'll have a few, but you should, bread and butter, simplified issue, non-medical products, getting you paid quickly, helping the client out, making it affordable, giving them that coverage that they want and desire. Failure to do your very best, I don't know what to tell you. Like a lot of you, the reason why you haven't hit Hall of Fame, $400,000 as you paid in a year, is because you decide to hold back just slightly. And it's because you're protecting yourself. So you're scared of that failure and you're literally you're running at like 80 or 90%. I spent some time with our leadership a couple weeks ago and to get around all the individuals, Meaike and John and Mark and Paul and Andrew and all the great leadership that we have here at Family First Life. The one thing that you understand is there's no like they're going 100, 110%, etc., whatever analogy you want to give. They're running at full capacity. So the top leaders of this company are running at full capacity. My question for you is, why are you not running at full capacity? Is it because you want to protect yourself so you have excuses why this didn't work out? Is it because maybe you haven't had anybody in your family be super successful, so you're kind of the fear of success? It could be fear of failure. It could be a lot of different things. But identify that you're not running at full capacity. I think that's important. In fact, the greatest thing about getting around these meetings that are going all around the country is you can really be self-aware enough to say, you know what, I'm not running at full capacity. I don't have a full enough schedule. I've got too much white space on my calendar. Where confidence comes from too is eliminating the white space in your calendar and making sure that you're running a full schedule. That's huge. And then the last thing is not loving or liking what you do. So I am not a big fan of Fantasyland. This is my personal take. I don't think you have to love this, is what I'm saying. In fact, I don't like the entrepreneur stuff where people are like, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day of your life. I'm like, really? That's cute. Because there's going to be plenty of days that you don't feel like doing this, because I'm the same way. Now, where success comes in is with my habits and my rituals and everything that I've already laid for. It doesn't matter what I feel like. Doesn't matter whether I feel like it or not, because I'm doing it regardless. That's the difference between that winning edge and just being super average, is on the days that you don't feel like doing it, you do it anyways, and you do it up to your full potential. So I like what I do a lot. I like meeting new clients. I like helping agents. I love other things. So just understand that it's okay to just like this. You don't have to love it. And if you do love it, I think that's awesome. Like, I'm excited for you. So thanks for your time on this segment. I'm going to go ahead and break out, talk about ReliaShield next, and how you can start to create more value in the house. All right, for this segment, I'm going to talk to you about ReliaShield, how you can implement it into your business, and how you can become more profitable as an agent utilizing the tools here at Family First Life. I thought it was a great promotional video that Sizer came out with this past week, where it's East versus West in May for ReliaShield. I think it's going to be a good, fun competition. Can't wait for the West side to dominate all you East Coast fools. But anyways, you know, left coast is best coast. So there we go. There's my little friendly talking. So it will be fun. I think it'll be fun just as a competition itself. So especially the winner has to introduce each other on the next level call. So I can't wait to be introduced on the next level call, right? Anyways, so let's get into this slide, and we'll talk to you about what identity theft is. I'm going to cover the product itself. I'm going to condense this, make it a little bit shorter. One thing I would do, because this resolution isn't great, so it's more about what I'm saying than it is behind me. But I would recommend, a lot of leaders posted this on their Facebook group pages. So it's about a 26-minute video, and it really goes through everything A through Z in regards to how to do this. I'm just going to go over things pretty quickly here, give you my insights. When it comes to identity theft, so I've told many of you, but my family owns the world's largest Dodge Chrysler dealership, and I did F&I there for 8 years out of college, and one of the big things that we started selling was identity theft. And I can promise you, based off of the amount of people that I saw, that people do see a tremendous amount of value in identity theft, and they do see there's a ton of fear in regards to identity theft as well, thanks to the media, thanks to real life examples. The interesting thing is everybody's got an example, I think, of identity theft, but even when I fill out my carrier appointments, to use this example, I have a scenario where in Indiana, there's like some other Matthew Smith with the wrong social for child support. And I'm confident that I don't have a child in Indiana, and I have to prove to sometimes the carrier, because somehow my identity's being mixed with another Matt Smith. There's a lot of Matt Smiths out there. There's only one of this Matt Smith, but there's a lot of Matt Smiths out there. So that I'm just using my own personal story right now on some struggle that I've had with identity theft, and how important it can be in regards to every facet of your life. And what you don't realize is your consumers are probably already paying for it potentially too. So if you're not asking about it, you would never know. So let's talk about what identity theft is. It's the fastest growing crime in America. To give you an idea, the automotive industry, like between your collision and comprehensive, they have about 6 million claims a year. And everybody's got automobile insurance, right? Identity theft, there is 16.7 million identities stolen and affected in 2016. That number's going to go up. We'll talk about some of the breaches that they've had. That number's going to go up significantly here. 2019, 2018 information will be out shortly. But it's the fastest growing crime in America, and it's a serious problem, and there's a tremendous amount of value for the client. So let's give some examples of identity theft. So you have financial fraud, where people can, pull money out of retirement accounts, bank accounts, etc., and utilize their funds. You have criminal ID, where people are committing criminal offenses in your name, which would be a significant problem as well. medical ID, where people are using people's health insurance or scenarios to benefit from that when it's not theirs. Social Security fraud, where people are actually, getting benefits in your name and you're not even aware of it. So that can really affect your retirement as well. Home title fraud, this is where, usually when houses are paid off, they can switch the title to your house, then all of a sudden you're not the owner. Pretty terrible thing. Tax fraud, this is very common. Tax fraud is where, people file taxes in your name and get a refund and steal your identity that way. That's a serious problem. Child ID theft, maybe they're applying for credit in a child's name and they don't know. So, like my daughter's, like 5 years later when she turns 18, she's applying for credit. All of a sudden she can't get credit because she's got all this credit taken out in her name. That happens all the time. You have benefits frauds where for different work corporations, employment fraud, family member fraud, all those different things where you'd hope your family member wouldn't steal from you, but they probably have a lot of your personal information. So that's important for you to understand. So this has a pretty significant earning potential at Family First Life. I know Grady's doing a great job with this. I know there's several agents that are already making a couple $1,000s a month just by rolling this out and offering it to every single agent. We'll talk about that here shortly. So, it improves your placement ratios with your insurance applications. Now, one of the things that's important, because ReliaShield's been around for a long time, there's plenty of other marketing organizations that use ReliaShield in conjunction with insurance sales. The one thing that I know is true is if you offer it together with the life insurance solution, you're like 50% higher closing ratio. So my example that I can give you is in the car business, you have what's called menu selling versus like step selling. Now, menu selling is where you push out a menu and say, you can do, you can have an HMS 125 product with living benefits, all your cash back, including ReliaShield that would protect your identity and up to $1 million of stolen theft, as well as making sure that we can restore your identity so you can function as far as credit, approval, etc. All of this is going to be $249 a month, and you offer it together. Huge deal. It's going to get you a lot more sales, and it's going to increase the value to the client. So offer it up front is my advice, and I think you'll have a significant amount where it's just a scenario where people are concerned about it. And if you talk to them and give them a little bit of knowledge, they'll be aware of it too. So it increases your policy persistency. So people, your policies are proven to stay on the books, which is extremely important. And then lastly, it only takes a couple minutes. So literally all you need is their name, email address, and their banking information, whether it's their checking account or like a Visa credit card. They could do either one, and it takes 2 minutes. They fill out all their personal information once they get the email from ReliaShield. So that's on them to do the rest of it. You're just filling out a quick 2-minute application, and then your clients will be yours for life. So a little bit about ReliaShield. They've been in business since 1999. They have the best combination of like comprehensive coverage and lowest price. I think that's important for you to understand. So you can offer this with some confidence in regards to the overall identity theft insurance industry. They're all over Forbes, Money Magazine, Smart TV, and they have a lot of dedicated sales management as well. So that's extremely important. So what is identity theft? So identity theft is for individuals that have had their information used without their consent and fraudulently obtained money or credit in different criminal activities. So let's go over some breaches. We talked about 16.5 million identities stolen in 2016. That's a huge deal. 2.5 all across the world. That's ridiculous because there's only 7.5 billion people on the planet. So you can see this is pretty significant. But look at these big names that have been affected. Uber had 57 million. Equifax here at the end of this past year had 145 million clients steal the credit information for Equifax. That's huge. $3 billion for Yahoo, 145 billion eBay, Target, 110 million. Chase, 76. Marriott, 500 million. Home Depot, 56 million. Under Armour, 150 million. Facebook, 50 million, which is interesting. If you have a social media account, you're 46% more likely to have your identity stolen. Interesting. So, and then Macy's, $7 million, or 7 million people were affected. So a lot of good notable news about identity theft. So this is the oldest man. This story came out in the middle of last year. The oldest man in the U.S. He's 112 years old. War veteran. Had his identity stolen, all his bank accounts drained. So the oldest individual here in America was a great example. So you can use that as a story. That's huge. I tell you one thing in that regard is seniors are concerned about this stuff. They will spend this money. I'll get into that a little bit later. We'll cover that. So you have 3 layers of protection with Relia Shield. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to give monitoring and alerts to any criminal activity on your account. So you'll get notified when somebody's, logging into your banking information, or when somebody's stolen your identity or taken money, etc. You'll get detected and alerts from them. The next thing is they have an unlimited recovery process. So they have a team of experts that's there for them, that are dedicating 100% of their success rates. They've recovered 100% of the time. So you can stand behind that for their clients. They've had 100% success rate on recovery. That's a huge deal, and you can stand behind the product for that as well. The other scenario is $1 million worth of stolen funds and reimbursement insurance. So if you're getting lawyers, attorneys, etc., or if your money's been stolen, it's all going to be reimbursed to you as well. Couple of the key features of the plan is you have personal financial monitoring, like we talked about, Social Security monitoring, your medical information is being monitored, your credit report review reminders. So they don't charge for that either. Other competition charges for credit report reviewing. Court criminal monitoring, your change of address monitoring, like data breaches updated, so they'll give you that. And the cool thing about it is most companies charge for children. They'll do up to 10 for free for the age of 18. That's a big deal too. All plans will get unlimited restoration services that they're talking about, where you have 100% success rate on recovering your money. They'll have a lost wallet protection, which is pretty cool. Just instead of you having to contact all of the credit card companies when you lose your wallet, you have one source and they'll do that for you, because that would take a ton of time, as you can imagine as well. And then also they have a 24/7, 365 US-based customer service. We talked about this, but it's important for you to understand that you get $1 million of stolen funds as well as $1 million worth of expense reimbursement, because that comes with every single plan, even their starting plan, which is we'll talk about that here in a second, but that's a distinct advantage for you as well. On their prime plans, so you're going to get all that we just talked about, and then they're going to start to give you like single bureau credit monitoring. They're also going to look about non-credit loan monitoring, so that's like payday loans, etc. They have like a reviewing process with the huge retailers all across the country, where somebody's taking a payday loan or something in your name. You can imagine how that would work. You get social media monitoring. This is pretty cool. So if you have children, this is what I like. You got all that bullying and all kinds of different things that are going on with kids these days, and in social media, if there's curse words, etc., you get notified. So that's a huge value for younger clients that have kids that you can't proactively really. All you need is their handles. You put it in, and they'll monitor all that for you. So I think that's a huge value add for people with young kids in their house. They also have neighborhood predator monitoring, where if some sex offenders move in, they'll make you aware of that, because they're a lot more likely to commit identity theft with that type of background as well. And then the final elite plan, you get all those features that we just talked about. You get all 3 credit bureaus monitoring. They'll actually give you a monthly credit score tracker, so make you aware of what's going on with your credit. They'll also make sure that you have a financial account takeover monitoring, so they're really actually truly monitoring your bank account information, all your financial information, so you can proactively get that. Price points vary, they'll be different, but they start from, and everybody gets a 10% discount through Family First Life, and if your own personal policy, you get a 50% discount, so that's huge. So everybody should take action and at least have their own product because you get a 50% discount off being a Family First Life agent. So one of the scenarios that you'll run across, and I just ran across this when I started to offer this past week, is their biggest competitor is LifeLock. So you'll meet seniors, because we've never had, it's not like in financial inventory we sit down and say, and who do you have for your identity theft? Although that might be a good question. What do you mean, right? So who are you using for your identity theft insurance? Well, we don't have anybody. Okay, I'll make sure to take care of that for you. So somethingness. So I was talking to a client last week, and I asked that question. I said, who are you using for your identity theft protection? Because he was getting phone calls while I was sitting in the house, and they were like, oh man, they're like, we get so many phone calls in the house, all these solicitations, all this stuff. And I said, man, do you ever worry about your identity being stolen? Come on, you do. Anyways, they're like, of course, that's why we have LifeLock. And I said, great. If I can show you a plan that has significantly higher benefits and it costs you 30% less, would you be interested in switching? They said yes. So that's what we're talking about for LifeLock. And isn't it funny how sales is all word tracks and implementation in regards to this scenario? So LifeLock, for their base plan that's $7.99 with us, $15.99 for the family, they offer only $25,000 for stolen funds and expense reimbursement, where ours is $1 million. And then you go to like the LifeLock Advantage, they only offer $100,000, where we start you out at $1 million. And then even their final plans, that's just significantly higher priced, and then you have $1 million. So we offer that $1 million stolen and reimbursement funds, which is such a big deal when you're talking about a competitive advantage, and it's 30% less than LifeLock. So that's how you transition when you meet the competition in regards to LifeLock. The final slide that I'll go over with you is kind of a word track that they all suggested at ReliaShield that we would memorize. It's really their elevator pitch in the house. And that's just because the word track is simple. It says, because your family's financial security is important, this solution does include a discount on $1 million of identity theft protection through ReliaShield. It's a comprehensive coverage that will constantly monitor your personal and financial information and alert you with suspicious activity, restore your identity, and if you become a victim, they'll provide you with $1 million worth of stolen funds or personal expense reimbursement protection. Now, as much as I love word tracks, and I think you certainly should remember this, I like having a conversation about it with my clients. So what's interesting is I think the younger the clients, they need it for their children. They need it for just starting out. They need it for all the reasons. The older clients, I think it becomes more of a victim. So it's a rampant scenario. And what you'll notice as you start collecting information through your clients, you'll notice a lot of them already have it, already paying on it. So once again, you're stepping over dollar bills to pick up pennies. You don't even understand the premiums that are available in the house. People are willing to spend money on different things. And with the placement and persistency being higher, it's going to affect your pocket on your life insurance. Believe that. That's not just me saying that. That's proven over time. So if you're offering this, your placement persistency will go up. And then also understand that second sales opportunities are the easiest to make. So this is a scenario where we need to be offering it up front, but if it's just going to value exceeds price people buy. So if you present this with value, I think you're going to have a ton of success. And then what will a year from now look like? So I was talking with Andrew Taylor, and he gave the example just using a blended average. If you're doing like 10 sales, I believe a week, or somewhere in that neighborhood, I think 10 sales a month, I apologize, but you could have $600 to $800 worth of renewal income every single month once a year's up. What a huge difference that could be for your bank account. What a huge difference. That could be a car payment, that could be a lead drop, that could be a lead purchase. What is the extra? Let's make a domino effect right now, right? What would it be if you got an extra $600 of free leads that you're able to process and you made 10x on your money? What's that worth to you? Either every little thing matters or nothing matters at all. So this is a scenario for many of you, like just this Relias Shield opens up a whole nother scenario for most of us. And it's comfort zone. And it's sad to say, but most of you on this call are unwilling to change those habits to really get to that next level. This is just another example, whether it be MedSup, you know, we don't nearly write enough IULs and annuities either, in my opinion. This is another area that's very simple, does not interfere with anything you're doing, only adds value to what you're currently doing. But you've got to ask yourself, are you going to implement it? Do you want to be a part of the contest in May? Do you have any pride? Is there a little ego there maybe? I don't know. So sometimes a little ego can be good. Not a lot, but it's important. And quite frankly, I just want to talk junk to all of you. So I am looking forward here in May. This contest is coming out. It's going to be awesome. And I'll move to the next segment of our call and talk to you about some in-home tips that we can implement. Thank you. All right, the final segment here, and we're going to talk about the how to do things here at Family First Life. Talk about how you can issue $10,000 a week as a producer, get to the Hall of Fame, and print money in your basement. So the first thing, if you're going to print money in your basement, that you need to understand is you need to invest in leads. So right now, Family First Life came out with like a mail drop. It's 37 cents a record, $370 per thousand. The best price mail drop I've ever seen for mortgage. I really recommend you talk to your manager, talk to Sasha, and utilize that. That's a huge deal. You can also utilize our second chance leads for direct mail. You can also, there's just multitude of direct mail that you can use. You can get on a standing order for final expense. There's many different ways to do this, but it's important that you are in the direct mail space because it's been a proven path for really a long period of time for simplified issue life insurance sales. So make sure you've got direct mail in a portion of what you do. The other areas you need to make sure you got internet leads. So I love seeing some posts. I know Dom had posted that he got a EverQuote lead from his neighbor across the street. Yeah, that's difficult to compete with live time, getting an internet lead from someone across the street. Plus they give you like free matching, which is a big deal, helps you have a little more opportunity to invest. So make sure that you are on some sort of internet lead as well. And then finally, make sure that you're doing social media, social media leads, social insurance leads. I know that's the lead source I use for final expense. I like it because it says life insurance on the lead, which is a big deal. So they're not confused about why they filled out the form. And it's a great way for you to become profitable. I think the one thing I would tell you, if you're a new agent, like where do I start? Do I start here, there, and there? I personally would tell you to start with social media. And the reason I say that is, I mentioned it earlier in the call, but it's about making money fast. If the best thing you can do, let me give you an example of where people fail in this business, is you spend $500, your first $500 investment, you get maybe 20 leads. You only get a hold of 10. You sit with 5. You sell 1 or whatever the scenarios. Maybe sell 2, maybe sell 3. I'm just giving you an idea. Maybe you cover your lead costs or you net $1,000 your first drop. I'm just giving you some different examples. Where you fail is you want to go process these 10 other leads that you haven't got a hold of. The key is you want to make the sale, that first sale, as fast as possible. Take that $500 that you make and then reinvest again in 2 days. Reinvest again in 3 days and then do it over. So now you're starting to create that lead problem, meaning getting more leads. So then you're not trying to process every single lead. And then it's about making money fast. So it's about keep pressing that number. And then you're doing a lead drop, right? For $370. And then you've got EverQuote where they're coming in 2 a day. So now you've got a strategy, but you should start with that final expense renew because you're going to get paid quick. It's going to be profitable. It's going to be the best way for you to try to get to the 30 appointment mark where you don't have any money problems. You only have people problems. Don't have money problems, I promise. So think about that. And that's the best way where you can really start to have that bell curve, effect, or hockey stick, whatever you want to say. But that's the key to this scenario. Now, the one thing I would tell you about 30 appointments is you've got to understand, you've got to build in the no-shows. You've got to build in the reschedules, the one-legged appointments, because we don't want to offer insurance to people if they're not both there. And you're probably going to have a third of your appointments fall out. So you might only sit with 20 people if you set 30 appointments. Now, that doesn't mean those 10 are dead deals. It just means that's just the law of numbers, and you need to understand them going into it. So now when you start to sit with 20 people, worst case scenario, as a bad producer, a third of them are going to buy. You just need to make it affordable. So how you start to get great is how you kind of that middle area. I've used always like really a 20-60-20 rule. Like 20% of the people, for one reason or another, just not going to buy from you from some particular reason. Doesn't mean they wouldn't buy from someone else, but for whatever reason, they're just not going to buy from you. Maybe it's timing, maybe it's the first time they've seen the product, maybe they need to do due diligence, whatever. But I don't get offended about 20% of the people falling out. 20% of the people really will buy anything. You just make it affordable, they'll buy it. That's why they filled out the form. It's the easiest sale on planet Earth. And then 60% is kind of that middle where you have to create some value. You have to exceed, value exceeds the price people buy. And that's where you can get to kind of that 80% closing ratio. I believe with final expense, it's about getting higher reps, and I don't think you're going to close 80%. I really don't, I'm not aware of anybody that closes 80% of their final expense sales. But you certainly can get above 50% pretty easily, because these are people that have requested coverage. You deal with budgets and other variables too, but that's important for you to understand. So the moral of the story is you got to run 30 appointments. You got to set 30 appointments. You got to do whatever it takes to get to that number. And I think you'll see your numbers just skyrocket. The problem is you're just not sitting with enough people. You're not working hard enough. You're not putting enough money into it. You're not investing enough time into it. The next scenario I want to cover with you is just going over a quick final expense sales process, very simple, etc. So we've always talked about that you need to make sure the client believes in you, your product, as well as the solution, the company that you represent. Those are kind of your three pillars inside of a sale. The other scenario with final expense that's extremely important is you have to make sure to get them emotional. So having them talk about their family members or friends that have passed away and have had a financial impact burden to their family and what that looks like, having them talk through that can help drive the value up, because that's where emotion starts to happen. Where some of you fail in the final expense sales process is you then don't use a hypothetical. With life insurance sales, it's very important to paint a picture with words and put them inside of that picture. So you're going to say, hey, Mary, so who is going to pick up the pieces when you die? Well, my son John is. Okay. Is John local? Yeah, he's local. Okay, is John really wealthy? So it's good to find out where people's families, what they're like, etc. And where the legacy, how important the legacy and not leaving that burden on the family when they die, because that's really the hot button why people want to do this. So say, okay, Mary, so John's, struggling a little bit, or he's working hard, but he's not interested in, forking out $10,000. Is there any other scenarios as far as legacy that you're concerned about, like the grandchildren? Or do you have any debt that you're trying to help pay off when you're no longer here? So this is how we can start to create higher face amounts with final expense, how we could offer 30 grand with Eagle Premier, for example. But if we don't talk about children, debts, other obligations, is there charities, etc. What do you want the final days to look like for you? That's extremely important as far as how we're trying to add value and how we're trying to look at obtaining more premium in the house. Now, generally speaking, our final expense clientele is on a very fixed budget. One of the key processes and things that you can say is, Mary, out of your fixed budget, what can you comfortably set aside to make sure you can alleviate the burden on your family when you're not here? I I don't mind that question either. There's different ways to do final expense. A lot of people like to offer like a 3-tier scenario and offer them, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, whatever. I've always been somebody that does an A or B scenario. And that's really only with final expense. Sometimes I only do one. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying try it. Try different things. Try top-down selling. Top-down selling to their budget, though, if that makes sense. Like top-down, if someone's making $900 a month in Social Security and you show them, $295 a month, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. You've got to be at least a little bit self-aware. Otherwise, you're going to peel them off the ceiling and you're not going to be able to capture the sale. But the one thing I do know about final expenses, everybody's got $100. Everybody's got $100 a month, no matter what the budget is, no matter where their income is, they can figure out $100. The other question that you're probably not asking, where you get some objections as far as budget, is, since, John, your son, is the beneficiary on this, do you think he would mind, forking out an extra $50 a month for the premium, since it's going to be a tax-free check to him when he dies? Like, it's okay to ask for premiums in different ways. It's not a problem. Sometimes people are, sometimes parents are living with kids or vice versa. There's a lot of variables in these houses. And if you don't identify that someone else is there to pick up the premiums, you might not get the sale too. So it's a thinking person's game at the end of the day, for sure. And the interesting spot in regards to final expense is, it's a simple sales process. You should know within about 8 minutes whether the client's going to buy or not. So you sit down, you do financial inventory, and you make sure that you get their budget, understand if they've got some credit card debts, understand if they own a mortgage, all those different variables. Ask if they have anything else that would act like life insurance. Certainly ask if they have current life insurance. A lot of times, Shawn might cover this on the last call, but a lot of times they've got policies where the premiums are going up every 5 years or ends at age 80, and we can help improve their existing coverage. But if we don't identify their current coverage off of a fixed budget, it's going to be really difficult to help improve their circumstances. So those are objections that you'll commonly get with final expense. The other big objection that you'll see is you'll have a client sometime that wants to do the math. And this is really not only this could be with an internet mortgage or final expense lead, but you'll have that client that says, gosh, in 10 years, I'll have $30,000 set aside instead of just doing this $30,000 Eagle Premier plan, right? And the big thing that you need to make sure and do with this type of scenarios is listen, John, or listen, Mary, whomever, listen, you're 77 years old, and the one thing that you've proven is that you're unable to save money. And the one thing that you understand about money is it spends quickly, and life events come up because you'll need a new roof, or you need to help your son with the transmission that you didn't think about, or you have those scenarios. So make sure at this point you've got a hedge. Instead of, okay, don't do the $200 a month plan, but do the $100 a month plan. So you've got to hedge and make sure something is better than nothing, but you've proven you can't do it. So now life insurance is the answer. So can we stop fooling ourselves and acting like you're going to put this money aside? You've got to force yourself to have it here. And you're at a point in your life where anything can happen. You could fall and 6 months later you're gone. And you and I both know you've seen that happen with many different family members, many different friends, that will completely affect your ability to take care of this now. 10 years ago was a rash decision. Today it makes financial sense. And then the final scenario that I can give you is just understanding, we talked about this briefly, but understand how to pivot. Understand how to pivot with financial inventory. Someone's contributing more than their free match in the 401k, take that money and put it in an IUL. If someone's saved $1,000 a month because they refinanced their house, maybe there's some premium for an IUL. Understanding if you do your cashback close and they're super lukewarm, I need to think about it. You've found alternative ways to press. They still don't want to do it. Offer them term without cashback, with like John Hancock's solution. If they don't want to do a scenario, maybe it's just, hey, I tell you what, You need traditional mortgage protection. That's purely just an accidental death policy that would pay off the home if you were to die. As long as it says accidental on the death certificate would pay, it doesn't cover you with cancer, heart attack, or stroke, or any natural causes. You know, for $60 a month, it will cover you and your spouse for $250,000. Does that make sense, John and Mary? Yes. At least you walk out of the house with that and some Reliance Shield. So that's all my time today. I appreciate you guys plugging in. Let's press hard and keep up the good work.